Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 15th, and thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. We are broadcasting remotely tonight. Instead of paying taxes, millions of Americans are seeing more money in their bank accounts right now, and Governor Newsom is focusing on direct relief for out-of-work Californians. Today, San Diego County surpassed 2,000 cases of COVID-19, and sadly, 7 more people died from the virus, bringing the total to 60. KPBS reporter John Carroll has the latest.
Ever since COVID-19 began spreading, there's been concern across the country about outbreaks in jails and prisons. Here in San Diego County, Sheriff Bill Gore says there have only been 3 reported cases in county jails, and 2 of those people have already been released. He chalked up the low numbers to modifications made in booking procedures and releasing certain inmates early.
Taking a lot of the misdemeanors that were booked into our facility and making those cite and releases throughout the county to bring our population down. We also requested and received from the presiding judge here in San Diego the ability to look at inmates in their last 30 or 60 days of their sentence and reduce those and release those inmates early.
2.7 million Californians have filed for unemployment benefits over the past month, putting extreme strain on the state's ability to deliver assistance in a timely fashion. So the governor announced a big boost today in the Employment Development Department's ability to handle the crush of new applications and calls for help.
I just signed an executive order that will extend our call center so that we can meet the volumes of inquiry. We'll extend it from the hours of 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening, 7 days a week.
The call center had been operating from 8 until noon, 5 days a week. The governor says the extended hours are being made possible by retraining and redeploying more than 1,300 state workers to work in the call center. The new hours go into effect on Monday. Newsom also sought to reassure Californians who are self-employed, both independent contractors and those who have their own businesses of which they're the only employee. He says financial help is coming for them through a pandemic unemployment assistance program. California Labor Secretary Julie Su says the application process for PUA will launch on April 28th, with first payments going out by the 30th.
Once payments begin, they are retroactive. The program begins in terms of when you can receive money if you were unemployed due to COVID-19 as of the first week of February.
And Sue says the extra $600 a week from the Federal CARES Act is retroactive to March 29th. The governor also announced a direct disaster assistance program of $125 million to help pay for people who are undocumented to get tested for the virus and, if needed, to get treatment. John Carroll, KPBS News.
Breaking developments right now in a shooting. It reportedly involves children, and the details may not be suitable for small kids in the room. Initial reports say sheriffs in Lemon Grove do say that they have a man detained, and they're questioning him for allegedly shooting 1, possibly 2 children who belonged to his ex-girlfriend. It happened in the 7400 block of Central Avenue, and the area still blocked off right now as the investigation continues. The exact motive is unknown, but it's believed a dispute sparked the violence. No names have been released at this time. And back to coronavirus coverage now. On what's usually tax day, millions across the country are getting more money in their bank accounts. The tax deadline has been extended to July 15th as the IRS makes stimulus payments. But as Camila Bernal explains, some may have to wait longer for coronavirus-related cash.
In the past 3 weeks, nearly 17 million Americans have filed for unemployment.
We've gone through all of our savings.
Many still waiting for financial help.
We had to contact all of our creditors and tell them that we weren't able to meet our obligations right now because there's absolutely no money.
The Internal Revenue Service started sending out stimulus payments this week, and about 80 million people can expect the money to hit their bank accounts by Wednesday. But it will take longer for others before the cash is in their hands.
My business needs a direct cash infusion.
Kelly Conklin applied for the Emergency Small Business Lending Program, but still has not heard back. And things might get even harder. The Small Business Administration informing Congress that the crucial program to help businesses survive the crisis will likely run out of funds by Wednesday. The agency has approved more than 1 million loans since the program began on April 3rd.
I was able to tell my employees that we received money as well. And so that really took a lot of stress off of them. And it just meant everything to get this money.
Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
The IRS created an online tool called Get My Payment that can be used to check on the status of your stimulus money. It's available now on the IRS website. The Treasury Department says you'll need to enter your Social Security number, birth date, and mailing address in order to track your payment. Minutes ago, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer briefly unveiled his proposed $3.9 billion budget for the next fiscal year. Tax revenues have been plunging because of the pandemic, and the city is expecting the biggest budget deficit in San Diego history, about $250 million. Faulconer says tourism is halted. 95% of flights at the airport have been canceled, and the border is at a fraction of the crossing. His major goals? Cut 354 city positions and put in a spending freeze and reduce ongoing services.
This budget, of course, is a snapshot in time, but it's based upon what we know right now. And what we know is that every minute that our economy is closed, our budget challenges grow deeper. In May, in just a few weeks from now, I'm going to revise the budget based upon where we stand next month.
And we will take an in-depth look at the budget proposal tomorrow night, right here on Evening Edition. The county fair is the latest major event to be canceled in San Diego because of the pandemic. More than 1 million people were expected to attend from June through the 4th of July. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman spoke to a popular fair vendor about the move and looks at how officials are considering a festival later in the year.
Because when you walk through those gates, something really special happens. You know, the smells, the sounds, the fairgrounds has that feel that you can't get anywhere else you go.
Chicken Charlie is a staple at the San Diego County Fair.
I've been going to the fair since 1984. I've never missed a year. This has never happened before.
You can't miss his food. Cotton candy ice cream sandwiches, triple-decker donut cheeseburgers, and...
Of course, we're known for the deep-fried, I invented deep-fried Oreos.
But all that will have to wait until next year now, with officials postponing this year's fair.
You know, safety is first, so that's what we got to go with. And fun is second.
Even though Chicken Charlie won't be at the fair this year, you can still get your deep fried fix. He's serving it up right here at his Rancho Bernardo restaurant.
I'm going to try my best to mimic it over here and do some deep fried love, if you will.
Yeah, it's devastating. It's devastating to the vendors that work the fair.
Del Mar Fairgrounds CEO Tim Fennell says canceling was no easy decision.
There's probably 4,000 to 5,000 people that work during fair time here, earn a living. The economic impact is about $250 million.
But with officials saying that coronavirus restrictions may go into summer, they had no choice.
You know, we're gonna err on the side of safety.
Fennell says up until this week, all options were on the table.
We looked at the possibility of, instead of a 4-week fair, it would be a 3-week or even a 2-week.
The fair is a huge economic driver, and Fennell says they're looking at hosting sort of a fall festival later in the year.
Wouldn't be a fair necessarily, but we still would anticipate entertainment, some rides, food.
I mean, we're a small company, and we hired over 300 people every summer at the San Diego County Fair. So we're not going to be able to hire those 300 people.
Now Chicken Charlie has to rely on just his restaurant's takeout sales.
Oh yeah, this is the baby. The fair business is the granddaddy. Yeah, all the money comes from the fair. I think last year at the San Diego County Fair, we did an average of 10,000 transactions per day. Come get it.
Each year, Charlie unveils a new deep-fried treat for the fair.
The new item was going to be deep-fried taffy, deep-fried saltwater taffy.
Now all he can do is stay positive.
And I'm already dreaming of 2021.
Charlie goes to 4 fairs a year, with San Diego being the first. Up next is Orange County, Los Angeles, and Fresno. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
Lawmakers are calling for an investigation at the Otay Mesa Detention Center. Today, Senators Kamala Harris and Dianne Feinstein, along with Congressman Juan Vargas, sent a letter to the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General. They want the agency to investigate whether guards threatened female detainees with pepper spray after they refused to sign a liability release in exchange for protective gear. The coronavirus outbreak at Otay Mesa is now the largest of any immigration detention center in the country. School districts across San Diego County are preparing to officially launch their distance learning programs. But as KPBS education reporter Joe Hong tells us, a number of teachers are facing some challenges.
So far to this point, I've heard from 42% of my 176. I just added it up before we got on.
Chris Elam is a teacher at Sweetwater High School. Since schools closed, she's been trying to get in touch with her students. But a week away from the launch of distance learning, she's heard from less than half of her students. She says it's because students either don't have devices or they're just overwhelmed with other responsibilities at home.
I think so. I think it's probably, honestly, maybe 50-50. It's hard to say what the breakdown is of device versus just too overwhelmed right now with everything going on. That school is secondary. But I think the device piece definitely, it makes it harder just to reach out.
At Tuesday night's board meeting, Sweetwater Union High School District Administrator said about 7,500 students have not been in contact. At San Diego Unified School District, the administration isn't collecting district-wide data until distance learning formally launches on April 27th. But Listy Gillingham, the principal at Patrick Henry High School in San Diego, has had relative success with reaching students.
And I'd listed all 2493 students on an Excel spreadsheet, and I've matched every single one. And now I'm down to 126 who have not responded. And I sent out that list to my teachers today, and now my email's going bing, bing, bing. Yes, I've heard from them. Yes, I've heard from them.
At Henry High, about 40% of students come from low-income families. At Baker Elementary, also in San Diego Unified, about 97% of students are low-income. Teachers there are having a tougher time.
I have 23 students, and out of my 23 students, I'd say that I've been in actual contact with maybe half of them, but it's been through different outlets. Like I said, if it wasn't through Class Dojo, then it was through phone calls.
Technology is crucial not only for connecting with students, but for moving forward with distance learning. Chris Elam at Sweetwater High says the struggle to get in touch with certain students is only the beginning of the inequities to come.
You cannot move forward in an equitable way. Because even if I give these kids a device and Wi-Fi, I can't control for their home situations. We have a lot of families who live like 6 people in a single room. So there's no way to kind of say, hey, just find a quiet spot and work.
Joe Hong, KPBS News.
And students in the San Diego Unified School District are getting a break on grades while distance learning. The school board approved grade protection, meaning no student will get a final grade lower than the grade they had before the pandemic. The board also approved retroactive time-and-a-half hazard pay for employees who helped hand out computers and meals to students, and an emergency school funding resolution calling on state leaders to prioritize public education. San Diego drivers are spending a lot more time at home, and that's crushing the demand for fuel. The average price of a gallon of regular gas in San Diego is around $2.88. That's down 50 cents a gallon in the last month. Southern California Automobile Club's Jeffrey Spring says there is too much fuel and not enough demand.
The week before, we saw a double-digit decrease. Last week, we saw a single-digit decrease, and around 6 cents a gallon, 3 cents a gallon in some places in Southern California. And this time, we're seeing, again, double-digit decreases. So it may have just been a plateau, and we're seeing another drop off a cliff.
California is still paying much more than the rest of the nation when customers go to the pump. The national average cost per gallon remains $1 lower than California's. We're following all of the latest coronavirus developments for you at kpbs.org. Just click on the Tracking COVID-19 link on our homepage and you'll be taken to a page with all of our recent reports. You can find that right now at kpbs.org. It was a beautiful, warm, sunny day across the county. On a day like today, Pacific Beach would normally be packed with sunbathers and surfers. But it looks like people are actually following the public health orders and staying at home. But will the sunny skies stick around? Mark Mancuso has your forecast.
After a beautiful Wednesday, we'll cool it off a little bit Thursday. A few showers coming back at us later Friday night.
But for the weekend, it looks pretty good. Those are our weather highlights. We've had our offshore flow today, giving us the pleasant conditions. But tonight, the flow turns on shore, so clouds come rolling in later at night, oceanside, over towards El Cajon, farther east, though, into the interior sections. Mainly clear, beautiful night in Borrego Springs. Now, for your Thursday, morning clouds will be with us. Temperatures will be cooler at the coast by about 5 to 10 degrees, but very little change in the desert. Should be another wonderful day with sunshine. Warm temperatures, too. Borrego Springs, 87. Looks nice in Mountain Laguna. Yeah, there you can see Oceanside waking up to some clouds, temperatures in the upper 60s. Well, looks like another trough comes down and pays us a visit late Friday, exits off to the east on Saturday. For the weekend, we should be looking at weak high pressure building in. And then on Monday, another trough drops down the coast. So you know what that means, more showers coming back at us. For the coast, well, clouds and sun for Thursday, a little cooler. Friday, showers late and at night. And then dry for the weekend. Monday could see a passing shower. As we head inland, nice day Thursday. Friday into Saturday, a little bit cooler. Maybe some showers Friday night. And then again on Monday. As we take you out to the mountain region, as that system moves through Friday night, the snow levels should stay up above 6,500 feet, so like 6,500 to 7,500 feet. Not much coming with this one. And increasingly windy as that next system approaches on Monday. And here in the desert, stays pretty nice. And then looking ahead, not as warm. The next system coming through later on Monday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
Since early March, San Diego County officials have held daily news briefings to update the public on the current state of the coronavirus pandemic. iNewsSource investigative reporter Jill Castellano fact-checked their comments, and here's what she found.
My review of all the county's transcripts and their coronavirus briefings shows most of the time the officials got it right. But they also made significant assertions that sometimes were contradictory or just incorrect. County Public Health Officer Wilma Wooten made most of those statements. One example, when she said hair and nail salons might be essential businesses and could keep operating as long as workers followed social distancing rules.
Many of you have been to nail salons. If you get a pedicure, the person is at your feet. That's about 6 feet. If you get a manicure, you are across from a table. That might not be exactly 6 feet, but many of the operators are wearing masks. And if someone is sick themselves, they should not be going to these businesses.
Here's the problem with Wooten's answer. If you're touching someone's hands or feet, you're not 6 feet away from them. The CDC says that actually means you're in close contact with them, and that close contact encounters like this are the main way the virus is spreading. Another time, when Wooten was asked to confirm a coronavirus outbreak at a UPS facility in Chula Vista, here's how she responded.
Well, newsflash, packages that were delivered before COVID-19 had germs on them. So this is not the first germ that is being detected on packages, and we don't know that that indeed is the case here. As I think was cited in an earlier media briefing, you should wash your hands.
But here's what a recent study says. The new coronavirus can last on cardboard for up to 24 hours. That means it could be transported through packages in the mail. It's also more contagious and more deadly than a lot of other germs, including the viruses that cause the flu. I fact-checked 7 other statements made by county health officials. You can read more about them at inewssource.org. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource investigative reporter Jill Castellano.
And iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. You can find more on this story at inewssource.org. With talks about reopening the country starting, researchers are warning that COVID-19 still poses a serious threat, and that means social distancing won't become a distant memory anytime soon.
If the virus is around in a few people and we aren't imposing control measures, it will resurge.
Researchers Researchers at Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health say measures like stay-at-home orders and school closures may be needed intermittently until at least 2022. Professor Mark Lipsitch says a vaccine would be a game changer, but that's almost certainly a year off. Many of us are already experiencing anxiety from being stuck at home, and now psychiatrists at UC San Diego say some COVID-19 patients may experience psychological disorders from the virus itself. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chatlani has the details.
UC San Diego psychiatrists Susie Hong and Emily Troyer say viral infections can have a major impact on the body's central nervous system.
Inflammation in any part of the brain can lead to different symptoms depending on the part of the brain that's affected. You can see changes in sleep, changes in alertness, changes in mood. Some people might have depressed mood, some people might have euphoric mood. You can experience hallucinations.
These researchers reviewed evidence from past epidemics like the deadly and widespread 1918 flu, and they looked at more recent data too, like the most recent SARS outbreak. They say the most important point is that this type of condition only happens with some patients who get really sick.
It's not in the case of everyone who's severely infected and was hospitalized in ICU as well. So again, I would like to highlight the fact that, like Emma said, the range of symptoms are existing.
And she says it's important to be cautious when comparing this data to that of coronavirus.
The evidence and statistics are really rare at the moment, just because the disease is in pandemic.
But Troyer says history at least shows that health experts should be on the lookout for psychological symptoms, not only among COVID-19 patients, but also with anyone experiencing distress during the pandemic.
I think that we are going to need a lot of services for the general public, for frontline healthcare workers. And I think it is one of the messages of the article that we wrote is that going forward, it might be difficult to ascertain if someone is experiencing emotional distress or changes in behavior, et cetera, going forward. Is that a result of the psychological distress of having experienced a pandemic? Or is that related to the effects of the virus?
In the meantime, they say, we can start getting prepared for potentially treating patients for psychological conditions so that history doesn't repeat itself. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
One crisis after another, the city of Poway has had to pull out of situations that have continuously tested its resiliency. I spoke with the mayor of that city, Steve Voss, to check in and see how the city is doing now.
Steve, welcome. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, you bet. Thanks for having me.
Last week, the city of Poway moved forward on two relief efforts. The first is a moratorium on commercial evictions, and the second is a Poway Emergency Assistance Recovery Loan, also known as PEARL. Tell us how this will help your businesses.
You know, we've got a lot of small businesses. We count about 1,500 with fewer than 50 employees. And we've got to make sure that their needs are met and thought a bridge loan of sorts, because we have the wherewithal with our significant reserves. We wanted to undertake that and see if we can ease some of the load for our folks.
In November, the city of Poway had a boil water advisory, which shuttered businesses for a time, and they're still trying to regenerate. With the food industry taking yet another blow, tell us how Poway has adapted.
Poway, all in all, has had a tough year. The last 365 days, it was almost a year ago, we had the shooting at the Chabad, and we had to pull together. Then we had the state's precautionary boil, and we had to pull together. And now this. Poway's famous for coming together in times of tragedy and times of need, and this time, just like every other time, we're there for each other.
So how are Poway residents doing?
As far as I talk to, folks are doing great. They're a little tired of being cooped up. They want to get back. And, you know, I think it's time that we open the businesses, that we can continue the social distancing and continue the face masks. It's time to get back to work. But folks are being real good about following the rules and keeping themselves and neighbors safe. So that's all we can ask for.
You feel it's time to start reopening some businesses?
I really think there are certain categories of business that could go back to work tomorrow. Now, granted, I'm not a medical professional or a scientist, but I think with the social distancing that we've got in place, the face masks, car dealers could go back to work. Retail stores, for the most part, could go back to work. It's going to be a new reality, but let's get back working again.
Mayor of the City of Poway, Steve Voss, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Maya. Appreciate it.
And the Poway City Council will consider the emergency loan program at a special meeting on Thursday. If passed, the city will set aside up to $2 million for small businesses in Poway with a maximum amount of $50,000.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the death toll in the U.S. from COVID-19 nearly doubles in a week. We answer viewers' questions about the pandemic. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. We leave you with a message from KPBS staffer John Yim's father on how they're staying safe from COVID-19 in Hawaii. Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Good night.
Aloha from the plaza at Moanalua. Right on, brother.
We are doing our best to keep spirits up by doing things like singing and dancing.
We are doing our part to stay healthy.
Please do your part to keep our kupuna in Hawaii safe by staying home.
Keeping a safe distance away from others and washing your hands at every opportunity. Mahalo.
Aloha, mahalo.